Hey guys, what's up? It's Ripe again. In today's video, my entitled neighbor stole solar panels off my roof and raged when I called the police on him for theft and trespassing on my property. Here is what happened. Subscribe to Ripe on YouTube and hit the bell to turn on notifications. I am a contractor for a living, and the company I am with recently started doing work installing solar panels. I was not sure how I personally felt about them before, but the more work I did with them, the more I learned. Since we had a good standing relationship with the company that makes them, I was given the opportunity to buy some for myself at a decent rate. I knew how to install them myself too, so I would not need to spend a ton of money getting somebody else to put them up for me. It was a no-brainer and I was pretty excited. My brother, who is also a contractor, what can I say, I always wanted to be just like my big brother, came over to give me a hand because it is a lot for just one person. Anyway, we get started and all of the solar panels are laid out on the ground, so we can just go down the ladder and grab another one easily when we need one. I notice when I go down to get one that a random one seems to be missing. It would not have been from the side we were taking from. I shook it off as just being hot and tired and kept working. When I went down again though, I saw another one missing and noticed my neighbor running to his house holding something. He was waiting until we were both on the roof to sneak onto my property and steal my solar panels. I was angry and decided that I was going to catch this guy in the act. I pretended like I did not see him and went on the roof. When it seemed that I was not paying attention, the neighbor walked right on my lawn and picked up another solar panel. This time I was ready, and the first thing I was going to do was scare the crap out of him. Me, hey, put that down! He got so scared that he dropped the solar panel and then started staring at me like I did something horrible and wrong. I went down and looked at the panel to see if it was damaged, and from what I could tell, it luckily still looked okay. What wasn't okay is that my neighbor started screaming at me for making him drop it like he owned the thing. I was not going to put up with any of this and told him I was just going to call the police until he returned what he stole and got off my property. Instead though, he got more stubborn and said that he was not going anywhere until I gave him the solar panels. According to his logic, he deserved them more than I did because he had an intellectual job while I just did manual labor. I was not going to argue that with him, since arguing with my neighbor is like yelling at a brick wall, it won't do anything. I did not care if he thought he deserved them, so after another warning, I just ended up calling the police saying that my neighbor had stolen from my property and was now refusing to leave. I could see his face turn red at the fact that I called the cops on him and thought he might just return the stuff and leave. Instead though, he does something I did not see coming and hits me right in the face. I go down, and after a minute of gathering myself, I get up with the intention to fight back in self-defense. In the time between him punching me down and me getting focused on what was going on, my brother jumped into action. I have no idea how he got off the roof that quickly, but all I know is when I looked up I saw my brother restraining a slightly bloody neighbor. I honestly would have punched him back if it wasn't for the police showing up around that same time. It was a little bit of chaos because the neighbor was now yelling that he got assaulted by us for minding his own business. They are trying to piece together what happened while I was just trying to focus on what was going on. I did not even know until later when they told me, but when I went down, my head landed on one of the solar panels. I had a mild concussion and didn't know it, which is why things seemed foggy to me. They did at least figure out correctly that I got punched first and then my brother jumped in to protect me. I gave my statements to the police of how he stole 2 solar panels and was trying to steal a third when I caught him in the act. Even with the police standing right there, my neighbor doesn't want to leave my property, claiming that he has rights and is not leaving until he gets his solar panels. They ask me if I want them to remove him off my property by force, and I tell them yes. It was sweet watching him literally be dragged off my property as a start to his punishments. He gets a couple other charges added on in addition to the trespassing, theft being a big one because even though he ended up having to give them to the police, aka the solar panels, he still stole them and I was pressing charges for him against everything I could. Finally, he was charged with assault for punching me in the face. That one I will get back to because it got a little complicated. For the trespassing and theft, he was given a ton of community service and a warning that if he went on my property again, I could have him arrested. He was also going to have to pay for the one solar panel he dropped that actually ended up being damaged despite me thinking it wasn't. Back to the assault, I know that most of you want me to tell you about how he ended up in jail for punching me, but real life sadly does not always work like that. Even though the police on the scene agreed that what I said seemed like the truth, there was no way to prove it. At the end of the day, the police arrived and 2 people had been injured in a fight. We were saying he started it while he was claiming we ganged up to attack him and he was just defending himself. There was no video or any kind of evidence that showed who exactly started the fight. It might sound disappointing, but honestly, the fact that my brother got to hit him a few times pretty good without getting in trouble is still a happy ending for me. He stays far away from my property now, and when he sees me, he seems to walk away faster. I healed up good as new and finished the solar panels on the roof of my house. I honestly love it, and now I can tell people that I installed them for that. I even put them on my own home. My boss was also understanding and until I was cleared just had me supervise from the ground and not touch any tools. I could tell he wanted a piece of my neighbor too after the story. The part that I like best though is that we are the only people in this town that are qualified to install solar panels. That means the neighbor who wants them cannot get them because my boss is refusing to do any kind of business with him. He tried to steal solar panels instead of buying them himself and now he cannot even buy them because he messed with me. Sometimes irony is the best kind of revenge. And yeah guys, that definitely serves the entitled neighbor right. I just hate people who feel entitled to taking other people's property. Either way, if you enjoy my stories, please don't forget to like the video, and now let's return to the next story. This one is titled The Worst Landlady I Have Ever Witnessed and How I Got Rid of Her. Our landlady from hell was just a miserable person. She decided she hated us shortly after we moved in and it was pretty obvious. Thankfully, we took tons of pictures of the place before we moved in because she tried to charge us with everything after we moved out. On the other hand, she loved our next door neighbor. It was a duplex and somehow decided that everything that went wrong was our fault. He put in a dish and something she told us we couldn't do. We offered to let her in the attic to see where the cables went, so she backed off. He did all sorts of renovations that she somehow blamed us for, even when it was obvious the renovations were at his unit. A guy in one of the duplexes in the back stopped over once asking if we had batteries and we gave him some and he went on his way. She somehow thought because he came by our house once, that meant we knew him and knew that he was going to skip out without paying his rent. Ironically, the guy in the other half of our building skipped out owning 2 months of rent, must have killed her knowing her favorite family was the one that were the ones that skipped. We did end up walking away from our deposit. One of our cats was sick and despite us staying on top of it, he did end up peeing on the carpet, and even if the carpet was trash, the padding would have needed to be removed. The week before we moved out, she tried to claim that the carpet would need to be replaced. We countered with the age of the carpet, which is important, the cost of the carpet that was in there, the cheap office carpet versus the carpet she wanted us to buy, which was a mid-range normal carpet. And we laughed and told her good luck, tried to get that in court. We left and never looked back, but we let everyone know what kind of crap show she ran. I really wish Yelp had been around back then. And the next one is titled Petty Revenge on My Wife. My darling princess wife, the absolute love of my life, hates getting up in the morning. She is, by her own admission, not a morning person. Each and every morning when her alarm on her phone goes off, she hits snooze. Over and over again. I have asked her several times to just get out of bed on the first alarm and be done with it. I have asked her to change the time that the alarm goes off if she wants to sleep late. She apologizes and promises to change her behavior. She complies for a while but soon reverts to the snooze button monster. So now when I get up in the night to have a piss, I'm old, it happens and will happen to you too, I move her phone away from her bedside table. Sometimes I put it in the ensuite, sometimes I put it in the cupboard, and sometimes I put it under the bed. Sometimes I put it in another room. Now, when her alarm goes off, she has to get out of bed to find that screeching, incessant dream breaker. She knows that it was me. She knows that this is petty revenge for disturbing my sleep unnecessarily, and so I lie in bed all nice and smug. It's a very good thing that she still loves me. And yeah guys, my girlfriend is actually the same. However, usually she only sets one alarm, so when I have to wake up early and get annoyed by the damn alarm that pops off over and over again, I sometimes just set additional alarms on her phone to annoy her even more. However, I gotta say she is very resilient, so sometimes she still does not get up for over an hour. Anyway, the next one is titled Fake Apartment Revenge, here is how it was done. So this happened a long time ago, it's probably okay to post here. It was November 2009 and I was jamming to I Got a Feeling by the Black Eyed Peas looking for a cheap apartment. I find a great ad in Craigslist and arrange for a viewing. I made the landlady a portly shrew with a Betty Page haircut. I was not here for the company, however, for the cheap room. It's not great looking, but it is cheap, so I tell her I'm interested. She tells me the place is mine if I can get a deposit by the end of the day. Sweet. I rip to the bank and grab the $450 needed. I have month's rent. She and I cross-sign a standard lease and ask when I can get a key to move in. She says a couple days as the current tenant has yet to collect all of their stuff. So I am sleeping on the couch at a buddy's pad for now and I just chill, seeing sights, enjoying the first few weeks in a new city, and a couple days roll by and I have not heard from the landlady yet, so I get frustrated and leave a few salty voicemails, but alas, I was ghosted. Finally, she leaves me a voicemail and says she is sorry, but she cannot rent the place to me. I start to get angry. I'm a pretty cool customer, so I do the research, find out my rights in an unfamiliar new municipality, and discover that if someone backs out of a lease without a legal reason, the other party is entitled to double the deposit they placed, so I figure she owes me about 900 clams. So I leave more messages and emails. Again with the ghosting, not answering the phone, no responses via email either. I get fed up. Now, I had just accepted a new job, but it did not start until the turn of the month. I would guess it's about the 3rd week of November 2009. I got some spare time, so I hop on the bus, buy a magazine and sit at the bus stop across from the rental house and just wait and wait. For a couple hours I waited, but man was it worth it. I see her showing the unit to another smart mark. I hold my cool and wait for her to finish with her newest renter and make my way over to the house to confront her. As soon as she sees me, she starts to wail about how the tenant changed their mind blah 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 and that is why she could not rent to me. I've heard enough. I square my stance directly opposite this clearly upset charlatan. Now you listen to me. You will get me 900 bucks as required by law by the end of day, or I will go directly to the police station and let them deal with you. She turned white. For a minute I thought she was going to puke on the ground right there in front of me. She says, "Hold on, I will get you your money." I remember thinking, damn, that was easier than I thought. She goes upstairs, the unit was a basement unit in the house she was living in, and I kid you not, hands me a wad of cash and says, "Here, this is ruining my Christmas, but there." She almost pushed me off balance as she jammed the messy wad of cash into me. "Thank you, have a good day," I say and take the money, count it and walk away. I didn't turn around and look back, got on the first bus that stopped nearby, heading back toward the direction of my friend's house. Not until I was home did I calm down and realize it was going to be a sweet Christmas, all thanks to a lying, phony cheapskate. However, this isn't the end of the revenge. About a week later, I get a phone call from a friend asking me if the lady in the news is the same crazy lady I got the double damage deposit from. I'm like, what? Sure enough, it turns out this lady was running the same scam in parallel with a bunch of other victims. I am mortified not just because I almost got scammed, but it immediately occurs to me that the money I got was someone else's money and they are homeless for the holidays. So I head right down to the police station, where there is, I kid you not, a line of crying people filing reports about being scammed by this woman. I feel awful, and when it is my turn, I get to the intake officer and start to give my story. I lay it all down, how I fell for it, how I left a snotty voicemail, how I staked out the rental to confront her, my demand of double the money back, my threats of legal action against her, and finally the skillful execution of the law by getting double the deposit back. I tell the cop I took some of the money that belonged to the other victims, and she looks at me and says, "Man, you were the only one smart enough to confront her in a reasonable way. You earned that money." Don't worry about it. A young lady who was now homeless and desperate could not help but overhear, and as I am leaving the police station, she approaches me and says, "Hey, did you get your money back from that witch?" To which I sheepishly replied, "Actually, I got double my deposit from her when I threatened her with the police." The girl blinks a couple of times and finally grins, starts a slow clap and announces to the other victims still waiting to give a statement in the lobby of the police station, "Guys, this dude took her for double the damaged deposit." I cringed, but then in the most unexpected turn of events, the line of victims began applauding, I suppose with the realization that while their money was gone, someone had really screwed her back and that made them happy. They cheered, I felt better, the cops laughed, and we all, there had to be 20 people in all, had a joyful cosmic moment of holiday schadenfreude at her expense. I left the police station with a clean conscience and a smile on my face and enjoyed every last penny of that worthless Karen's nasty stack. And the next one is titled, Parade Revenge, here is how it went. My ex destroyed my twin's communications tablets when I told her to leave after she stole money from me. My twins use these tablets every day to communicate and wind down before bed. They don't understand why they are gone despite me trying to explain, and they have moved on to being destructive. They decide to do something to the toilet that resulted in the bathroom flooding and a crack in the toilet. I searched on social media for a handyman who would take payments because the wall behind the toilet started getting soggy and water damaged, but my savings are gone. An acquaintance suggested I reach out to someone he knew who might be able to help. We spoke and came to the agreement that he would do the work and provide the materials up front, charge me in payments, but I would basically have to write a testimonial on how great he was to help me for an upcoming event he was part of. He gave me the email to send it to and started working. I wrote it out and showed him what I said, and then I sent it. Very gross, but I really needed the bathroom fixed and he got his ego fed. He requested that my animals should be in a separate room while he worked. He was working for a few hours before my boys came home from day camp. I asked if it was okay if they watched him work for a few minutes because it was really loud and I didn't want them to be scared. He said, no problem, they can even help if they want. They come in hyper as they always are and immediately go to the bathroom because they hear him working. They stand in the doorway and start humming and rocking back and forth. They do that to self-soothe because it is loud. He stops working and looks over to us and he makes a face. The easiest way to describe it is when someone is expecting a normal kid and seeing a kid with visible disabilities. Before you roll your eyes and think I don't know what I'm talking about, I've been seeing this look for 11 years. It's as if people think disabilities are contagious or something. I then stepped away to shut the front door, and when I went back, he had stopped working and asked if I could put them up. I apologized to him if they were disrupting him, kind of confused because I just asked if it was okay, but told them to go watch TV. He then tells me to, no, like wherever you put your pets, verbatim. I said, no, they won't be in your way. He starts packing up and says he has to be done for the day and puts the toilet back on, but does not secure it or put the wax ring on and says, I need a new toilet. The wall behind the toilet has half of the drywall cut out of it, leaving exposed wiring and the outlet. He leaves and I get a message saying he cannot complete the job because he was uncomfortable with my kids present. I asked him if he could elaborate a bit because I did pay him a little upfront what we agreed on. I reminded him I even asked if they could watch and he was initially fine with it. I then told him I would need some of the money back if he was not going to come back to finish. He then tells me, your kids were standing around moaning like spooks, you should have said your kids were stupid. I said I don't want to see or hear them, so if you cannot put them up, I'm not coming back. The work I did equals the amount you paid me. He ends the text conversation telling me that he could find another low-income endorsement if I took back the testimonial I sent, talking like he's running for office and not for a spot in a stupid parade. I told him I was not going to go back on what we agreed on, and I am not. The event he was talking about is the county festival that is coming up. The parade has added a part that is, despite COVID, you cared. It's basically praising local business owners and entrepreneurs who have helped the community out despite the hardships the pandemic brought. The day after, I got an email saying he was given a spot in the parade because of my testimonial. What he doesn't know is I was told to make a sign for him to hold during the parade of what he did for me, and if I wanted, we could walk with him, but it's a surprise. The poster board will be provided for me and I can pick it up at the city clerk's office tomorrow, and I cannot wait. I'm going to put the pictures of the mess/half-assed job he did as well as the text exchange. I have to walk my boys across the street to the gas station until I can replace the toilet he said he would provide. I'm not blasting him on social media or leaving bad Yelp reviews. I am doing exactly what we agreed on. His wife just won county treasurer and will be in the parade as well. After a little digging, I found out that in 2017 he called a 4-year-old the same slur, which is the R slur, harassment as he did to my boys at a MLB game and made the news. I am so tired of people thinking that kids with disabilities don't understand and can say whatever they want. I dealt with this with my ex, which I recently posted, but not anymore. You are not going to be an a-hole about my kids and get away with it. And yeah, ripe stars, I don't even know how people can be so cruel and actually stupid, especially as adults, to be treating kids like this. I cannot even fathom what goes through their minds. Either way, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again tomorrow.